Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his Monday guest and expert, Mr. Greg Dickerson. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, Michael. Coming to you from the road.
Yeah. Yes. And I don't have my book with me. Here it is over here. I don't know if people know this, but you were actually a featured chapter in this new book. I forget which chapter it was. I told you which chapter, but I forget. I think it was chapter 8, maybe chapter 7. But anyways, thank you for being a part of this. Truck in a toolbox made it to it because, again, being an entrepreneur is a big deal in the U.S. economy. So thank you for being a part of that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, happy to do it.
There you go. Well, hey, what I wanted to do in this episode is I want to share with you something I am seeing. I want you to poke holes in it. This is something I've not broken down with anyone else yet in detail. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So in the 70s, lots of people know, and if you don't know, a lot of the pain in the 70s was caused by the oil embargo, right? The oil embargo really shut down, caused oil prices to rise. But what people really don't remember is the oil embargo was only 4 months in total duration. However, that caused a decade of inflation, or at least is what people point at it as the reason, because oil prices before the embargo and after were astronomically different. And oil at the time in the U.S. economy was in everything, right? So that was a input cost that really rippled through the economy for most of that decade. So what I am looking at is I think we have a very similar thing going on this decade, but it's going to catch people off guard. In the 70s, the input was oil. In the 2020s, I think the input is the hourly employee. I don't think people realize how much of an impact rising wages will be going forward. Starbucks has done it. Chipotle, Deere has just had a strike and now resolved. There's all the employees have more power than they've ever had before. Small business is going to very quickly realize that they either raise wages or they shut down. So what I see happening over the next decade, and it's not going to be 4 months, it could be 4 years, certainly 4 quarters, is the employee wages are going to go up, and that is going to ripple through the economy for years to come. Does that square with you, or am I missing something obvious?
No, I mean, it's becoming a problem. And, so on one hand, it's great that wages are going up, but on the other hand, what does that mean? That means that, the cost of doing business is going up, and that gets passed along to the consumer. So, we have inflation and things like that. So, it is a trickle down effect. That we're going to see more and more severe repercussions of as we go forward. And not only that, I mean, it's going to put some businesses out of business completely because,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, people will push back at a certain point, and, you can only raise prices so much before people just stop going.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I see coming, right? The employees' wages are going to go up at some point. Businesses can't pass on the expense to consumers, right? Their customers, and they'll just shut down. Right? You can't make money.
What's really interesting is, a lot of those businesses you mentioned, it doesn't matter what they offer to pay, they still can't get people to go to work. People are they've realized and figured out other ways to make money and get by, and, not wanting to work in a lot of those environments. So it's really, really an interesting time and kind of mind-boggling, at the end of the day, between it's mainly restaurant, hospitality,
retail,
warehousing jobs. We talked about warehousing and third-party logistics. They're having a hard time getting people, and it's like, who would want to go? I mean, it's very hard, it's difficult, it's long hours, hard work. And, yeah, I mean, at what level do you need to pay to attract people back in, and how does that affect your operations?
Well, let's just talk about truckers. We kind of closed on that episode number 2, right? I've read articles. The average trucker starting salary was 80 grand. Now it's 110 plus signing bonuses, all of that, and still they're having a problem. So my supply.
Well, that's only if you're, a salaried or a union trucker, and generally, most of the truckers out there are independent. They get paid by the load, not by a salary, not by the hour, things like that. And, I was referencing an article written by one of the truckers. He's paid by the hour, and he said that's one of the big problems is that the people paid by the load, for the port specifically, it doesn't work for them because it takes so long just to get in and out of there now. He's like, nobody wants to do that kind of business. He's like, the non-port direct freight business is the one that, everybody wants to do and is still somewhat ticking along okay, but it's the warehouses that are, backed up. They can't get that cargo in and out.
Yeah. So again, that when I see stuff like that, at some point, economics, supply demand just win. And if that becomes a problem long enough, how do you fix it? Well, you raise the price, right? You pay them more, right? If they're paid, I don't know, I'm going to make stuff up, $5,000 a load, you pay them $20,000 a load, they start showing up, right? And again, when you do that, everything on that load is more expensive, right? The person paying that 20 grand, and again, I'm just making stuff up, but everything that's in that container is more expensive, and the in sellers will raise prices or go out of business. This is going to be a powerful inflationary decade. And again, it's on wages. So it's going to feel good on one hand when you get a 10% salary bump, but when everything you pay for costs 15% more, your purchasing power actually is going to go down. A lot of people in the middle class and below, because they don't have the extra disposable income, are actually going to be left in worse shape. 10% income, 15% cost, you are a net loser. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's interesting, times and everything. I mean, the cost of that freight, deliveries, orders, food, groceries, gas station, it's all going up exponentially. And, and now they're wanting to raise taxes on top of all of it.
Yeah.
It's just, just like 0809, it was the government and the Federal Reserve, Greenspan, that killed the economy single-handedly. And they're going to do it again. They're going to do it again because they just, for whatever reason, they don't get it. They don't see the inflation. They don't understand what's going on. And the programs that they're trying to put out there, aren't going to do anything but just make it worse.
Yeah. And I think the last time I saw CPI, Consumer Price Index, I think they said it was like 5.1%, maybe 5.6. What do you think true consumer inflation is? I'm guessing way more than that.
Oh yeah, it's mid double digits, if not more. And then when you add the real cost of inflation, which is housing, they don't even include housing or, any of those types of things. I mean, it's really ridiculous how it's measured and what they're doing. And, you're talking about people that don't have to worry about those things, that are making policy, and they just don't get it. They don't understand it. And when you have, the bank investment banks and hedge funds and people like Bill Ackman coming out saying, look, you need to stop. You got a problem because these guys are just stacking their pockets full. Banks had record earnings because everything the Fed's doing, but they all see the writing on the wall. They're like, man, you got to stop.
Yeah, you got to stop. Yeah, I think inflation is certainly double digits. It's got to be 10, 11, 12. And the thing I keep coming back to is, like, I actually read the CPI reports and break it down. It's like glaring me in the face. The rent equivalent increase was 2.1% in the last report.
Yeah.
Everybody I talk to is like, it's 15 to 20%. What are they doing? And the excuse is the data they're using is 6 months old, where I'm like, if that's true, that's only going to mean in the next 3 to 4 months, we're going to see a monster inflation number. It's got to be double digits, I think.
Yeah, it's always too late once they figure out what the real numbers are. And, but like I said, I mean, you have to have some unwinding at some point. Things go up, things go down. Good times never last, bad times never last. So it's just peaks and valleys, cycles. And I mean, it's been the history of time. We're going to see more recessions. I don't think we will ever have another depression, just because of the tools that we have. But at the end of the day, I mean, I just don't know. Nobody really knows. Can you print infinity? Can you ease infinity? Infinitum, however you want to word that, to keep a depression from happening. And what we're experiencing now, we've never experienced more jobs than people to fill them. We've never had that in this country.
Yeah,
it's always been the other way around.
Yeah, and that's another reason that I'm on this wage inflation kick. I think it's going to be much. Again, on one hand, it's wonderful news. People making more money is awesome, but we're not making more goods, right? It's the kind of definition of inflation is too much money chasing too few goods. If you raise everybody's wages, they're going to still buy the same amount of apples or whatever, and it's just I'm scared of what I see.
And I'll tell you, the leading indicator for all of your investments, for anything, any decision you're going to make, when you go through McDonald's and the $1 menu is now the $5 menu, watch out.
That is awesome. Yeah, it's funny. I talked about Dollar General and Dollar Tree the other day. I don't know, 4 months ago. I'm like, they're going to have to be the $3 store, because I mean, all this stuff they're buying from China is getting shipped over, and the container costs 400% more. I mean, yeah, it's. You're dead on. So, Greg, do me a favor. How can people follow you and get part of your world?
Yeah, it's gregdickerson.com. That's where my YouTube channel, podcast. You can find the links to all of that, gregdickerson.com.
Yes, do yourself a favor, folks. Follow him because he is an entrepreneur. He talks about amazing stuff that I do not. I watch his channel every week. So, Greg, thank you for all you do. And again, thanks for pulling over and talking for an hour.
Yeah, man. Love to do it.
All right. Take care. Thanks.